got the script. They sent me the script because Betty and I worked together in the autumn on a Mark Ravenhill play, so we knew each other. I got the script. I hadn't worked with Tim before. Often I will have worked with the playwright before, but I hadn't worked with Tim before. So he and I had several conversations. We didn't meet up because he was in Scotland and I was in London, but we had several conversations, and then we did a reading. We did a reading with Betty and another actor because we hadn't cast the play then. And then he and I went away after that reading and discussed what we'd learned from it and made a lot of changes. And while this is going on, he and I are working on the script, and at the same time I'm working with a designer who's a young designer called Morgan Large, who's brilliant. So Morgan and I were looking at a lot of different sources, so David Hockney and Edward Hopper, images of LA at the time, images of Rock Hudson and of Henry, and I was watching a lot of Rock Hudson movies, talking with the lighting designer, talking with the sound designer, talking with Betty a lot, and so we continue to make changes, and then the casting process is quite a kind of useful time as well, because you meet different people and you hear different actors reading the script, and so different things crop up then. And then we cast Michael, and that just all went horribly wrong.
Best of a bad bunch.
And so then, and then we cast Michael, and then we started rehearsals. So it's a varied process that's to do with not just the playwright, but also the creative team, in terms of trying to figure out how the show's going to look and sound and all of those things.
I had a big conversation with my agent about changing direction and trying to do more television, film, plays, and she gave me the call for this, sent me the script through, and I read it, and straight away I knew it was fantastic. It was a really good script.
But I think also what's exciting and contemporary about the story is the fact that it's about a Simon Cowell type figure. It's about a Svengali. Henry Wilson was somebody who took people, repackaged them, so they came in off the street, they were a no one who could sing a little bit, and they won a contest, and then he took them away, and like Cowell did with Leona Lewis, and then brings her back as this global superstar. And there's a long history of the Svengali figure in popular culture, and we've probably got more of them now than we've ever had.
Henry was renowned as having all the pretty boys on his books, and it was kind of his way of getting to sleep with them. was bringing a lot of these in, but like you say, he was a big star maker. He saw the raw talent early on and knew that he knew that they would be good on screen, and he could develop that talent. He was very good at it.
Yeah. Virtually the first thing that Henry says to Rock in the play is, he says, now the first and most important rule is that your private life remains private. From now on you're not a guy who fucks around. And that's kind of at the heart of both of them, is that this is a world that is intensely exciting because partly of that, I think, because of that secrecy, but very, very scary.
The privileged are often protected from the law. So, big stars in Hollywood are beloved figures in national life and national American life. So on the whole, you might let them get away with a lot, just as you let the rich get away with a lot. It's just an old story. So yes, it was against the law, and if anything, but at the same time, it's such a complicated period, particularly the 50s, and of course we'd have to go right into the 60s as well, because although it was against the law, this is also the period when there's much more discussion of homosexuality than had ever been before. The Kinsey report on male sexuality came out in 1948, and that purported to show, nowadays we question really how truthful it was, but it purported to show that I think it was 1 in 5 men had homosexual experiences, and that it was a really very common activity. So that was itself a scandal, but the fact is that was very widely distributed, read about, talked about, and so on. There was the beginnings of various kinds of plays and films that, in a sort of, quite a timid way, but were nonetheless dealing with homosexuality. There were people like Tennessee Williams were writing at this period. You've got films like Tea and Sympathy about Now, they're negative in the sense that they're about, oh, how awful gay, but at the same time they're talking about it. So it's a period which it is against the law, and in one level, because there's more awareness of it, it's more dangerous because it can't be purely closeted.
But it really was completely hush-hush. There was a gay scene, but it really wasn't talked about, and it really wasn't the homosexuality of particular actors really wasn't discussed, because it was dangerous not only in terms of it being illegal, but also in terms of the witch hunts that were going on with McCarthy. You wouldn't just be thrown in jail, your entire life would be ruined.
I mean, really, I'm trying not to try and just do a perfect carbon copy of exactly how Rock Hudson was in those days. It's more a case of kind of developing the character through the research and through understanding who he was and his journey and his life. And just kind of the step-by-step progress of all that, really.
I suppose also when you're doing a play and when you're doing a role, you take what's on the page. So you read around and you do your research and you watch the films, but ultimately all the audience are going to have is the play.
Yeah.
So there is a difference between, I would say, there's a difference between Rock Hudson, the man, and Rock Hudson in the play Rock.
That we're going to find out about through the play.
So that's your kind of primary focus, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's as an actor, you try to, personally I try to take everything moment by moment. Otherwise, if you start to play the arc of the play, you're giving away things that you maybe shouldn't be giving away as a character before they've happened. You should be playing moment by moment, and it's such a huge character arc for Rock in this particular play, because he starts off from the minute he walks into Henry's office for the first time to right to the end of their lives, pretty much, their lives together.
I think probably when it came to the hard and fast decisions about can I sell this person, then I think the bedroom would be left behind, and he would think, hang on, is Roy Fitzgerald repackagable as Rock Hudson? Can I sell him to the straight female market?
What's great is to have heard so much about Resident Alien, and Tim Fountain and Betty Bourne in their working relationship, and to have worked with Betty. I worked with Betty on a 20-minute play, this Mark Ravenhill. And so you get kind of a glimpse and you have an idea. And then to come on board and be able to work with them both, at first hand on a full-length play, on something that is so different. It's a two-hander. It's Betty in a very different kind of role. Henry Wilson was, this straight-talking, straight-acting, viciously ambitious Hollywood agent. And so you get all of that great stuff of them having worked together before, combined with this incredibly exciting new project that's taking them both in a very different direction.
Working with the same person is what's great on one level, is that you have a shorthand and you can cut to the chase and you can get on with it and you understand each other. I guess, like any double act over 10 years, the negative side is we know each other too well.
Are you Morecambe or Wise?
Exactly, a little friction creeps in occasionally.
They both have an incredibly astute understanding of drama, I think, and of comedy, and how comedy works, and how drama works. And so Tim will pick up on something Betty is, improvising with, and then Betty will throw something at him, and so it's like watching a double act.
Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly you've got to be in a situation where you tell each other what you think, in the most useful way possible, hopefully. But one doesn't. Better to say what he thinks about the script. I have to tell him what I think about the performance. Usefully.
It feels like a room where things are really happening, where something exciting is being created, and we've got this great script. We've got these two great actors. And it's each day it gets it kind of goes deeper and deeper and gets funnier and funnier, and
It's like we layer it every day.
Yeah.
It's more and more interesting.
so it's just fantastic to think where we'll be in a week and a half.